graduated, elevated. Now it's my time to shine. Yeah, let's go. Major moves, power moves. Take it to the top one time, non-stop.
Welcome to PhD Hard Talk. I am your host, Noma Mguni. Thank you so much, Alero, for your time. Could you please introduce yourself, your research, and your university?
Thank you so much, Norma. I'm really excited to be in PhD Hard Talk. My name is Alero. I'm a doctoral researcher at DeMontfort University, and my research is on continuous improvement processes on service delivery and how it enhances guest experience. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Exciting. And, the first question then, let's start from zero. Why did you apply for a PhD?
Yeah, well, I would say my people look at me as the book person. I love reading. I love academics. And so I have gone from masters in accounting and finance. I move on to do the biz admin. And I think one thing that always stood out for me, I wanted to be an expert in an area. And when I started making inquiries, I was told that, okay, if you want to be an expert, then you have to start looking at the PhD. I want to be in the platform where I'm able to consult. That has been my dream. And then when I began to look out, make some inquiries, I got to understand that PhD, it's something I need to look into because I'm passionate about something. It's a space I'll be able to deliver what really is in my heart, especially in areas around service delivery and customers experience.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've touched on this element, but I want to explore it a bit more. So in terms of added value with the PhD, then in terms of customer experience, what is the added value of you having that PhD outside of being the expert? In your opinion, what is the other added value?
Yeah, very true. For quite some time, I worked in the hospitality industry. I worked in the hotel, I've worked in the restaurant. I've always been in the platform where you have conversations with guests, with customers face to face. Something that always sparks my interest and gives me a lot of satisfaction is being able to deliver well in your service. Being able to make the customer feel, oh, wow, I really enjoyed myself. It gives me this satisfaction and fulfillment. And what I saw over time was that when we begin to ask customers for their feedback, how was our services? I began to understand that what their customers are looking for, they were speaking a particular language. I would explain. Many of them were looking for that personalized experience. They were looking for that memorable, that curating that moment that they could look at and link and say, when I was in this restaurant, when I was in this hotel, I saw that. While on the other hand, the management, they are looking at how best to deliver the services. But that angle was always on the aspect of service delivery from the operational side of things. So I began to look at it that I think we need to see how we translate what the organization is doing as a core area in operations to translate to the emotional or the experiential part of what the guest is saying. I began to see that we can see how we bridge that gap. Translating the operation, yes, we're doing what we need to do. It's not about what we're doing, it's about how the guests see what we're doing. That was where I saw as the gap. And I began to say, okay, if I can see how the management begins to speak the language of the guests. So at the end of the day, we are not just only delivering and looking at the guest's outcome, but we're looking at the process, what we're doing to see how we cement it. At the end of the day, guests are happy. It becomes a circle. They come back again. And it was on that note, I began to look at, yes, I want to go into an area in my PhD that would help me to look at how to deliver services properly, how organizations begin to see continuous improvement as a culture, because that is really very important. It's not just about, okay, yes, we want to see this is what we are doing, but you begin to see it as a culture, and then you truly begin to see service delivery as an experience. So both ways win, both the organization, because today, Noma, you would understand with me that the world is so competitive. customers' expectations are evolving. They want to see something more than you just give me a room. They want to see that experience being built. How do I feel about what you're doing? So these are the things that really formed my own perception in going into the PhD, because I know that at the end of the day, I should be able to add the value in a sense that I'm able to have conversation with the hotel leaders and say, yes, I can be able to see how to look at your CIs you're currently doing. Then we'll begin to look at actionable strategies to put in place that will be able to give you what is expected and give you that delivery. And they also begin to look at how can we deliver our services more effectively, that will begin to get that, and we're standing at that point to enjoy that sustained competitive advantage. So these are some of the reasons and what I see as a value I will be bringing in through my research, through my PhD. Yeah.
That is quite fascinating. It sounds like you want to put the world to right. And I know that there are challenges in terms of
Yeah.
senior leadership, obviously, and it depends on who's at the top. So no, I'm excited to go through your research in terms of current situ and forecast, essentially. So in terms of the key three challenges that you've encountered from what you've just said now with passion, what are the key three things that you've encountered during the start of your PhD that you say, do you know what, if you are going to apply for a PhD, watch out, this is coming.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noma. You see, like I said earlier on, I've done my master's in accounting and finance and then business admin. I thought the PhD was just an advanced master's where you have like the module and you just have to do some kind of reading and you just go ahead and upload the Trinity and that's all. I got the first shocker when my supervisor said, Alero, I think you're just a bit too descriptive in what you're doing. You need to be a bit more critical. I began to look at it and I'm like, wow, what's he talking about? And I began to understand that PhD, first and foremost, you need to understand what you're looking for. You need to understand that so many voices, so many scholars have said something. You need to question what you're doing. So the challenge was that I was not critical. I was just looking at what has been said and just sending it back, as in I was not doing anything apart from just copying what they have done. And so I noticed that the big challenge was that I had to look into the literature and begin to see what is the thing that has been said. Of course, with my PhD at the back of my mind, I began to see I need to question what has been done. I need to see how it has advanced the body of knowledge. I need to see where there were gaps. And I need to say, okay, where does my research fit in? That was number one. Number two, at first, I thought it was just going to look like, oh, you just sit and you just begin to read and you just begin to read, just begin to read. And I got to see that I had to take it one step at a time. Before you will comfortably say, this is what this person is saying, it means that you have done a lot of reading and you're able to connect the dots with what this person is saying and who has built on that. How has it evolved? How has it evolved? Where are the strengths? Where are the gaps? And where do you think it fits in? So it was important that I needed to be very critical. I needed to be very analytical. And then at first, I was just doing it on my own. So that was a big challenge. I began to understand as the time went by that it is not a journey of yourself. It's a journey of having conversations with people. And I was like, talking with people is not a problem with me. Is it about talking with people? And I would say, Norma, that the more I speak with people at the shopping mall, conversations in school, they begin to just, it built that confidence in me. And I understood that it's not just a solo journey, it's about having that conversation with people, sharing what you're doing, and they begin to contribute both as colleagues, both as mentors, and then the confidence began to build. So the challenges were, one, I wasn't too critical, I was too descriptive. Two, I was just running it a solo journey. And what will I say? Three, at first, I was not so confident of myself. I'm still in the process, but one thing I got to understand that it's a discovery of self-awareness. You need to understand why you're doing this, and then you begin to be patient with yourself. I was so much hard with myself, and I had to learn those things. Yeah, I would say those are the challenges, and any other thing that comes to mind, and I can speak on that.
No, that is essential, and I love how you've reflected back in terms of key challenges. And just for people at home, because some people they don't know the difference between critical and analytical. What is the difference so that they've got the full
Okay.
spectrum?
Yeah, when you say descriptive, you just let me say, for my area is continuous improvement. If I look at it and say scholars have spoken about continuous improvement, like Deming, like Duran, and then I just put it in my paper or piece of work and say, oh, or casing, they have looked at continuous improvement as an incremental small wins, and I put that as a work I'm doing. That is being descriptive, because I'm only just re-echoing what has been said, what Durham has said, or what Casing has said. I have not said anything. I'm not critical. I have not questioned it. But when you say critical, it means that why did Durham say why did he say it's CI, continuous improvement? It's like you building on quality. What did he mean by that? And then I look at what Casing has said and says, oh, continuous improvement is incremental wins. And I begin to look at it that, okay, when Durham spoke like this, what did he mean? What context was he talking about it? And then I look at another scholar. So I'm beginning to question what they have said. I begin to look at how that has applied so far. Then when it was said and now, does it still stand? Is it still applicable? Are there been gaps? And then before I begin to say, okay, you have said this and you have spoken well, but you didn't look at it from this light. And then I look at it, okay, I want to see it from this angle. Yes, you have built it in this context, looking at it from another angle and seeing how at the end of the day, you're trying to bring in something, because PhD is about adding value. So critical is you making questions. Why was this? Why? Just like a lawyer, you're doing investigation, and then descriptive, you just taking it from the surface. This is what was said. You're not questioning it. We are not saying it's wrong, but as you critical by asking questions and looking deep into why was it said, in what context was it said. Can we look at it from this perspective? Can it become a different way? Yeah. So that's it.
No, thank you very much. And now moving into the day one, right? Noma's thinking, I want to apply for a PhD. I've heard the key 3 challenges from Alero, right? So in your opinion, what are the 3 things that one must consider before applying and when applying? Because that's when we'll say the legal clock will start, essentially, right?
Noma,
In
you're
terms
very
of time
right.
cycle.
I would tell you this for free. If you don't have passion, don't go there. I think to me, apart from the fact that I really wanted, like I mentioned, I said I want to be a consultant, being able to be in a space where you're able to influence policies, we are able to look at research. But it had always been a question in my mind whenever I was working. Why is the feedback from the customers like this? Oh, yes, you tick this box. Yes, you tick this box. But I would have loved something more personalized. I'd have loved something that would make me feel valued, make me feel welcoming. I want to see something more than what I am seeing. I don't want to be transactional. I want to be transformational. Those are things that were in my mind. And I will tell you, despite the fact that I was being paid salary, but I wanted to see, did I do well with this guest? Did I make this guest really happy? Did I give that guest the experience? Was that expectation met? So it was from the place of passion. So I would say if you want to go into PhD, number 1, you must go for an area that you are passionate about, because that is what will continue to give you that push. When you feel like giving up and say, oh my God, you have the first meeting with your supervisor or supervisors, and one is saying like this, oh, you're not making sense. I don't understand what you're doing. Another person say, well, why don't you look at it from this angle? Another one says, well, and if this is what has, and so what? The only thing that keeps you going is a passion for the PhD. And then it makes you, because what passion does is that it allows you to have a very open mind. It allows you not to look at feedback as positive or negative because you know what you're looking for. So passion is so important. Another thing I would encourage people is that begin to have conversations with people on what you're doing. Because one thing you should know is that you're not coming to the space of solving the whole world problem. You are not in competition with anyone. You are coming as a contributor. You're coming to contribute. You are coming to add, even if it's just one thing. So passion is number one. Two, see yourself as someone that is coming to contribute to the body of knowledge. And so that is what you continue to pursue. No matter what has been said in that area or close to that area, but you see yourself, you are not competing with anybody, you're coming to contribute into the body of knowledge. And number three, I would say be very patient. I'm not up to 1 year in my program, but I think I've learned patience. Patience go with resilience. Because sometimes you just keep reading. At some point, Noma, I told my supervisor, I said, sometimes it seems like I figured it out. And enough time I put on my laptop to do my reading, I'm like, what's going on? I'm lost. I thought I got this. Where is the link? I can't see anything. And it looks like sometimes it's blank. So I think what I would say is passion and patience what you're doing, and then always see yourself that you're coming to contribute to the body of knowledge.
No, I appreciate your candor and your honesty because it is a journey, and you are right in saying patience. I was impatient with myself as well because you get into this mode of like you're used to sprinting, but it's actually a marathon. And sometimes within a marathon, you have to stop, isn't it, to get your water.
Very
And
true.
if you don't stop, you might just burn out at some point, and then you won't finish the race. And that's how I figured out my journey in terms of reflections. The next question then is to do with your research methods. What approach will you be taking?
Yes, I will be looking at the quantitative because my area is, like I mentioned, I want to be a consultant. And one angel actually have a conversation with me. One of the conference I had, he said, you want to be a consultant? Then you need to know that what your clients are looking at is figures, facts, data. And that's the reason why I'm actually pursuing quantitative, because I understand that my area is more people centric. I am looking at what is it that the guests, what is it that the hospitality industry they're looking at that could help their guests. But I'm looking at how to use the quantitative method to gather the information, to gather the data I'm looking at. That would help at the end of the day to see how you're looking at providing that solution. And what comes to mind is I have frameworks that already looking at that would help speak to my area of research. One is the SERVQUAL, and it's a measurement tool that helps you to look at how service delivery has gone through. And the other that I'm looking at is GEMS framework. So that one is more tailored to the guests, the hospitality industry. So it's something that already they have dimension, they have something that I can use to assess the impact of what I want to do. And so I'm so big on quantitative, really big on it, because I already have the tools I want to use. So I'm just going to do a bit of testing. I'm going to pushing out questionnaires to the guests. And so we're going to gather those information. And with that, we use that to inform our judgments. And then we can use that to test from what we want to do and achieve.
I love your passion. So now I will ask, because you know what you want, how are you planning to analyze your data to get to the answer that you're seeking?
Yeah, firstly, like I mentioned, I want to do a quantitative. I want to look at administrative questionnaires to the guests. Yeah, there's one thing that has, like I mentioned earlier on, that there is a language that the guest is speaking. that management have not really seen. It's not like the management or the leaders are not doing what they need to do to see how to push on their service delivery. But over time, it has always been perceived from what we think that would be very good for the guest. So I want to administer the questionnaires where I'm able to pick the thought of the guest. How do you see our services? How does our services make you feel? How does it impact in your coming back to the hotel or whatever it is? So I will be looking at administering the questionnaires, and of course, the questionnaires will be centered on areas around continuous improvements, questions that they should be able to pick out from what the hotel is doing. And I'm focusing on the UK luxury hotel. And of course, you can do everything. So I'm looking at the Midlands, and also I'm looking at London. London being that it's a space where we have diversified many persons. It's a business hub, and so you can definitely get different kind of guests. I'm looking at the Midlands, where you can have opportunity where people are more quiet, looks more like so it gives a perspective and looking at it from different lenses. So with being able to administer the questionnaires, I should be able to gather those information, and of course, use the explorative factor analysis. I know that I'm still early in my research, but I would be able to gather those information, and with the SERVQUAL as a framework, and then with the GEMS, because what the GEMS does is that it's more tailored to the guest. So my questions would be more embedded or looked at the angle of how the cognitive, sorry, I need to go a bit on that. The GEMS framework is talking about the cognitive, the sensory, and the emotional. So what it means is that my questions will be around what is it that we do in us delivering of our services that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel welcome, that makes it a bit more personalized. That is the emotion. You're speaking to the affective responses of the guests. Then the other part is the cognitive. It's talking about the mental parts of the guests. How is it that the guests, they look at the service delivery and they say, okay, I can see professionalism. I can see consistency in what you're doing. And so those questions will be tailored. We'll be asking the questions that, do you think that our services were able to deliver? Do you think that what we have said, you've seen it on email or on the website, is it really delivering the way you want to see it? And the other part of it is the sensory. And those are the areas that has to do with services around or our responses to what the customer or the guest they see, what they touch, how they feel. So what do they see about the ambience? Do we have that ambience that brings you back? Are we giving that that touch, that personal touch in terms of the test? So when you look at the cognitive, you look at the emotional, and you look at the sensory. So my questions will be tailored towards that side so that I'll be able to get because these are the embodiment of what you call as guest experience. So you're not looking at it as an outcome. Oh, at the end of the day that we have a feedback and then this is, oh, they're happy or not. But we're looking at what is it that we're doing that becomes a process that would make the customers become better. So with the questionnaires that will be gathered to handle these areas, we'll now have to gather all the information and do the exploratory analysis and to see which of these CIs, at the end of the day, let me say, for example, okay, we are able to deliver, yes, we're doing the proper check-in, check-out. So, okay, in terms of reliability, we're doing well. That's the cognitive part of it. But at the end of the day, you're also looking at the responses from the guests. Are we doing the emotional part of it? Do they see themselves feel loved? Do they see that empathy? So it makes you to understand, okay, you may be doing well in this area, in this dimension, you're not doing well in this dimension. So this information or this data we will gather will make us able to see which areas need to be looked properly, which area need to really, you need to advance on, and that would help you to provide you better insights on your delivering of your services towards giving that guest that a memorable experience.